Indian gold imports are down 60% this year through August. And we're going to go through the monthly numbers this year compared to last year, and also for some of the reasons for that dramatic decline. Remember, India is the world's #1 gold consuming nation most years. Historically, it's always been the #1 gold consuming nation. Only in recent years, since the Chinese government has allowed private citizens to buy gold, has China challenged India's throne as the king of gold nations. Now, in August, Indian gold imports rose off of their multi-year monthly levels in July. In July, just 20 tons of gold were officially imported into India, which is 705,000 ounces. In August, about 25 tons, or approximately 882,000 ounces, were imported into India. Now, India is an odd nation in that it loves gold. Its government hates the fact that the Indians love gold, and it has no significant domestic source of gold, so it gets all of its gold via imports. Unlike China, which also loves gold, China has the #1 gold producing mines in the world. India is left to whatever they can manage to get into the country. Now, the Indian government does not like the fact that Indians love gold because, for one reason, it messes up their trade imbalance, because with all the money spent bringing gold in, India does not have corresponding exports. So what they've done is they have tried to discourage gold, and we'll go through all the ways they've tried to discourage gold in order to improve their balance of payments. But let's look at the gold numbers. So if you look here, this is a chart since 2008, and India has always, during that time period, imported at least 600 tons of gold. 2011, over 1,000. Last year, 947. This year through August, only 271 tons. It looks like they'll probably only import 400 tons this year. The reason for that, there are multiple reasons for that, is India, in a sense, has declared war on gold. In 2013, India imposed a 10% duty on gold coming into the country. So even with the 10% duty, you can see here, they still managed to bring the gold in because the Indians were willing to pay the 10% duty, but also because the gold prices in 2014 and 15 were on the way down. This year we have a double whammy. You've got that 10% duty on top of higher gold prices, and there's more. So let's go through what else is going on. In addition to the 10% duty, there is a sales tax that the Indian government put on gold, a 1% sales tax on gold jewelry. That has also slowed purchases. So you've got a higher price, you've got this 10% duty on imports, you've got a sales percent of 1%. And then in April this year, the Indian government imposed an additional 15% duty on gold and silver for Indians returning home from abroad after 1 year. So they're really trying to restrict the amount of gold that's brought into the country, and combined with the higher prices, it makes it very difficult for Indians to buy gold. Now, this means there's pent-up demand for gold, because every fall in India is the festival season where Indians get married. Tens of millions of couples get married, and they receive gold. Their fathers set aside gold every year for their daughters' weddings. They receive gold as gifts from the guests, and then there's also gold-giving festivals on the Indian calendar in the fall. The other thing that adds to gold demand in the fall is the crop season is over. If there's been a good monsoon or rainy season during the year, Indians will have additional cash when they have a good crop due to good rains, and they will use that cash. They will convert those rupees into gold. So there should be some pent-up demand this fall, and it just remains to be seen how much demand there is at the higher prices and with the higher duties. The other thing that's been going on in India because of this, since February, we have a quote here, go up and snag it. Since February, according to the Business Standard, Gold has been quoted at a discount due to this low demand and these high prices. In recent weeks, however, the discounts have been narrowing and they're getting closer towards the spot price. So Indians had been paying less for gold than the official spot price in recent months, but it seems now as demand starts to pick up as we get into the fall season that the discounts have narrowed, and there's been reports of Indians also paying at spot in recent weeks. Let's look at the monthly Indian gold imports. Here's where you can really see it. You can see that this year there hasn't been a month above 40 tons other than January, and most of the months have been in the 20s. In prior years, prior recent years, months, you'll see many months over 100. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 months in the last, out of 18 months being over 100 tons, and now bam, you go right down to a very low amount. And that's a result of all of these interventions by the Indian government. There's another one that's not necessarily impacting gold demand. It's the Indian Gold Monetization Scheme. You can click here. I'll put a link at the bottom of the YouTube for you to check it out. It's some harebrained scheme where the Indian government not only hopes, to stop the gold from coming into India, but once it gets there, the Indian government wants to grab it. And the way they want to do that is hand the Indian people a note that pays them interest on the gold that they've given them. If you click on that link, I've done a full explanation of the scheme. So far, it hasn't worked. Very little gold has been retrieved by the Indian government from its citizens. I think there's an estimation of 18,000 tons are in the hands of Indian citizens, and most of that gold is in rural citizens' hands where they don't have access to banking. They certainly don't want some kind of note, and they value their gold as a store of wealth, and they don't seem to want to give it up. Now, some of the temples in India also have a lot of gold. They've been a little more willing to part with their gold, only a few tons, in order to get those interest payments from the Indian government. Final point is, just like we saw with the Swiss National Bank, where they're not adding to their gold reserves. You see, they've got 1,000 tons of gold. They haven't added gold in long time, nor is India. However, Swiss National Bank will buy gold mining shares, but they will not add any more gold to their reserves. India, same thing. For a country that loves gold, they only have 557 tons of it in their reserves, and they haven't added any in a long time either. So really the only countries, central banks, not countries, that are buying gold are China and Russia, and their central bank purchases have vaulted them into the top 10. And we will be reporting probably later this week on the People's Bank of China's gold additions, as well as the Shanghai Gold Exchange withdrawals, which are also down about 25% this year. So please make sure to subscribe right up at the top here to Smaulgld. You'll get those reports as soon as they come out. I may or may not do a YouTube video on them. So if you want to get the data and those charts, please subscribe to smaulgld.com. Also subscribe to the YouTube video if this is your first visit here, or if you visited before and you haven't yet subscribed. And then Russia's gold reserves will come out sometime in the third week of September. We'll report on those. We'll also be reporting in the third week of September on Mexican and others foreign holdings or holdings of U.S. Treasury securities. So for those of you following the Mexican story and their dumping of U.S. Treasuries, we'll see where they are as of July towards the end of the month. Thanks again for listening, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.